Hey everyone, today I'm going to be going over this dashboard indicator that I made for the Strat. It tracks multiple symbols at once so you can see the Strat patterns of the last few candles, the Strat Sniper 50% rule, whether we're in Timeframe Continuity, and all this extra stuff. So to get this indicator, you can go to Indicators and type in Strat Dashboard, and it should show up right here. And I'm going to remove all the extra indicator stuff right now. So I'm going to take off the VWAP and EMAs. So we're just looking at pure price action. And if you're not familiar with what the Strat is, I'm going to add this other indicator that should make it a little more clear. So I'm going to grab the one called the candle type. I'm going to add that to my chart and change the colors just to make it a little more clear. And basically one of the objectives of the Strat is just to simplify price action via candlesticks. And basically every bar is simplified to either a 1, 2, or 3. So ones are inside bars right here, right? The high is lower than the previous high, the low is greater than the previous low. A 2 is a candle that takes either side of the range. So it took this candle's low, this one took this candle's high. And a 3 is an outside bar that takes both sides of the previous candle. Now we can also specify whether something is a 2 up or 2 down. So you'll see this 2U and 2D notation. So this, for example, since we took the low would be a 2D. This one, since we took the previous high, would be a 2U. So that becomes significant when primarily looking at this column for the last 3 candles, where you can see we're on SPY right here, and SPY is showing that the last 3 candles were 1, 2 up, and 2 down. So we have this inside bar right here, a 2 that took the highs, and a 2 that took the lows. And basically the advantage of this is just for people who trade the Strat that want to watch multiple symbols at once, pretty much like having a watch list. And instead of having like 8 different symbols on your chart and keeping track of each one individually, we can have all that information just on one chart via this indicator. And you can actually change this to show more or less candles depending on what your preference is. It'll show the last 5, for example. But usually a lot of Strat reversal patterns are just 2 or 3 bar patterns that you want to keep an eye on. So something like 3 or 2 should suffice. But yeah, essentially you can track up to 10 symbols. You can choose whether you want to show all these extra details. For example, the Strat Sniper 50% rule. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically the concept that every 3 or outside bar starts as a 2 that took one side of the range and now goes back to take the other. So the idea is if the candle takes the highs and price falls below the halfway point of the previous candle, then this column would show a yes, and that the current candle could potentially become a 3. We also have this Timeframe Continuity column, and to get a better visual of that, I actually have another indicator for that. So I have a script here called Timeframe Continuity. I'm just going to add that. And basically what you're seeing right here is that multiple time frames are creating up close candles. And when that's true, we are currently green. Or when multiple time frames are in down close candles, the close is below the open, then we would be painting these candles red. And this is a separate indicator, but I'm just demonstrating what this would look like. So let's just say that I want to see the 1 day, 1 hour, and let's make this like a 15-minute. So basically when all these prices are trading above their open, it will paint these candles green, and vice versa. If they're all trading below their open, it'll paint these candles red. And we can verify that in the Strat dashboard. So we have those time frames selected, 1 day, 1 hour, and 15 minutes. And now when we go back a little bit and play, we should see this time frame continuity saying yes on SPY. And again, that's because all the time frames that we selected are trading above their current opening price. Now you can also see that this last column just populated, and basically what that's doing is finding the most recent Strat reversal pattern that occurred 1 bar ago. So before this bar even opened, we had a 3-1-2, which is one of the many Strat reversal patterns, and so it shows up in this column for the duration of the next candle. And then additionally, you have this VWAP and EMA criteria, where you can just be mindful of where price is trading relative to the moving averages and VWAP. You can actually choose which Strat reversals show up in this column here, and also which ones fire off in the alerts. These are just some common ones that we added, but if they're all checked, then all these patterns will be detected and appear here when present. And typically you usually get a couple reactions off of VWAP, so some traders just like to be mindful of it on their charts. And in this example, you can see we have full time frame continuity down for this price leg. Then you see a brief rally up into VWAP, some indecision, not really closing through that much. And then it gets back below its moving averages and becomes full time frame continuity down again, in which case you might consider trading in continuation of the trend. I know my channel is normally geared towards ICT content, but I was approached by a good friend, Elaine Bennis99 on Twitter. Her and I are both part of the Stat Trading group, and she normally trades gappers, so stocks that are gapping up or down based on, earnings or news catalysts or whatever. But she's usually managing a handful of them at a time, and by hand, she's usually writing a lot of alerts throughout the day. So I just figured something like this could be a decent time saver. And since the Strat is pretty easy from a technical standpoint, as far as, 1s, 2s, and 3s, it wasn't too difficult to code. And in fact, the code is open source if you want to check it out. You can just click on this source code icon to bring it up. But yeah, basically this is just a time saver for people that like to trade the Strat and are focused on multiple symbols at once. Just wanted to share that really quick. But yeah, that's all I have for this one, and I'll see you next time.